Hi crafters, it's Chris from Crafts with Chris, and I want to thank you guys for either making a purchase at my online shop and using the current host code or buying the card class outright from me. I really appreciate all the support. Now you will receive a packet in the mail. This is for the Timeless Tulips card class. You will get enough materials to make 6 cards, 3 different designs. You also will get a colored PDF that will list all the materials used, and you'll also get a link to this video in the PDF. So let's go ahead and I want to show you, this is the stamp set that I will be using on all of these cards. And then this is the Tulip Builder Punch. These cards are very universal. You do not need this stamp set to make these, but it does coordinate. So let's go ahead. This is card number 1. We're going to get started on this card. So in your stamp set here, there are these 2 bigger tulips. You got your biggest tulip, your medium, and then your smallest. We're going to use these 2 tulips. I'm using the curved stem. And then one of these leaves, I think I'm using this one. I'm not sure. Any one of those leaves will work. And then the hello in this stamp set. So I've got my tulips already on my blocks. So I'm going to do my stamping first. So I'm going to move all that other stuff out of the way. This stitched shape rectangle here, what you're going to do is you're going to ink up with Mango Melody your tulips. So I'm going to kind of put one, I want to make sure I can get my hello in up there. So you want to leave enough room up at the top. And then your other smaller tulip. Now, I do not have a foam mat underneath here. Normally with the photopolymer stamps, you want to use a foam mat because it makes it stamp crisper. But I find with this stamp set, because it's distinctive and it has those lines, you don't need the foam mat. It actually makes those lines blend in with the foam mat. So that's all you're going to do for your tulips. Now I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper. I don't want my stem to stamp off here. I want it to stamp just where that stitching is. So I'm going to just put this here. You can use a post-it note. You can use a scrap piece of paper, whatever you want. I'm using Old Olive to stamp out or to ink up my stem. And then I'm going to kind of just crisscross them. And then just make sure if your paper moves, you want to go ahead and move that back. I'm going to do the same thing for just like that. And then your little leaf here. Then you're going to take your leaf, and I want to make sure I don't go over my stitching here. So I'm going to kind of just angle this. And then I'll do that on the other side as well. Then I'm just going to bring in the hello, ink that up with your Memento ink, and then that's going to go right above these tulips. And that's all the stamping we're going to be doing. So now you're going to bring in that thick piece of Very Vanilla, and yours will have crease lines in it. So you just want to fold it down the crease lines, and then I always like to take my bone folder and give it a good crease. Now because it's thick, Very Vanilla, you don't need anything on the inside. So all we're going to do is we're going to take in your card packet, you'll see these 2 pretty strips of paper. These are going to go one at the top, one at the bottom. And I'm just using some Stampin' Seal just to apply that on my card. So I'll just line it up at the end here. You may have to trim it. I did cut it to the proper size, but sometimes the cardstock is cut a little short, so you may have to trim a little bit off. So this piece, one goes at the top, like I said, and one goes at the bottom. You can leave a little piece of the Very Vanilla showing, or you can cover it right to the end there. So as you can see, mine's sticking over a little bit. Some people that doesn't bother them, but I like to just give that a little trim. So I'll just follow the card line here and just trim that right off. So now this piece that we stamped earlier, this is going to get popped up on the front, but before we do that, you have two pieces of this polka dot tulle ribbon. So what I did was I just kind of put some adhesive back here, and then you're going to take your ribbon, and I kind of just didn't angle it too much. Just so that you have like that crisscross shape out on the front here, and it's just hanging off the edge like that. Real subtle, but pretty. So now what I did was I just popped this one right up with your Stampin' Up! Dimensionals here. So I'll put a few of them on here. I like to use a lot of the dimensionals just because I don't like that sag that you get when you get a card in the mail. And the dimensionals are fairly cheap. This is the worst part. It's taking off the backs to all these dimensionals. So now that you have all your backs off, this just layers right in the front in between these two pieces of colorful designer series paper. So you can take these and you can trim them if you wanted to. So when they go into the envelope, it's a little easier, or you can leave them the way they are. I might just trim them just a bit there, but you can, when you put them in the envelope, it'll fold easy enough. So that is card number 1. This is card number 2. So we're going to go ahead and make this card. So in your materials, you will find this piece of basic gray here. And again, it'll be scored. You just fold it in half. This is your card base. And then there's a piece of Very Vanilla, which will go on the inside, so you have a nice place to write. So in your card packet, you also have this piece of purple posy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this right now because we're going to do some stamping, but I want to put all of our elements on so we know where to stamp. So you also have this piece of designer series paper in there. This is going to go up towards the left hand corner like that. We're just going to glue it down with our Stampin' Seal. And I left a little bit of the purple posy showing. And then you have this piece of gray granite sheer ribbon. This is just going to go right along the front here. So before we do that, let's do our stamping. In this stamp set, there's this happy birthday right here. That's what I'm using. So you're just going to ink up your happy birthday with Memento. And I'm going to stamp this in the center of this gray paper here, of our gray designer series paper. Perfect. So now we can put our ribbon on, and then we can adhere it to the front of the card. So what I'm going to do is just put 2 strips of adhesive here, one in the middle, and this ribbon will get placed right along the front here, or the front here. You're just going to wrap that end around. You can also take, you don't need to put the adhesive on the back. You could wrap this around and put a piece of Scotch tape back there and hold it down. But it's going to look like that, and it's a little crooked, so I'm going to readjust it. There we go, much better. Then this is just going to get stuck to the front of your card. And that basic gray is going to give it a nice little edge around there. I just love that color combination. So in your packet, you also have these 3 beautiful tulips with this little piece here. I was going to glue them on for you guys, but I figured, you know what, maybe you guys want to design your card a little differently, or maybe you want to glue them on. But what I did was just use the liquid mono glue, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the tulip piece here, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue this on the tulip, the coordinating tulip color. And you don't need a lot of this liquid glue. And you're just going to do this on all 3 of these. And then I'm going to bring just my Stampin' Seal and just apply that to the back of these tulips. I'm going to do all of them at once. So then you're just going to kind of, you know, design them whichever way you want to put them on your front here. I think I'll angle this one in just like that. And then that's it to that card. Super simple, but I love the colors and the shininess to it. So that's card number 2. Now we're going to work on card number 3. This is my absolute favorite. I love this one. So in your card packet, you're going to have a bunch of elements to this card. We're going to first glue our tulips together. So you will have 4 tulip heads that are cut out in Poppy Parade. They're all going to be scored. I wanted to show you guys how I did that in case you wanted to recreate that. So all I did was bring in the paper trimmer and make sure your cutting blade is out of the way. I took the, let me see, make sure you guys can see, yep. I took the tulip head here, and the little point of the center, I kind of put that, I lined that right up in my, in the groove of your cutter there, the little groove there. The very tip of it I lined up in there, and then I just gave it a score line. So it scores it right down the middle. So super easy to do. So then what you're going to do is just go ahead and give all of these tulip pieces a good fold. And if you have a bone folder, give it a good crease. If not, use a block or whatever you have on hand to give it a good crease. Then we're just going to open all of these tulips back up. So what we're going to do is we're going to create that 3D effect. So we're going to make sure our tulips all line up together. So when you're gluing this, you got to be aware of which sides to put your glue on, because if you put it on the wrong side, it's going to mess everything up. So it's simple. I like to use the liquid mono glue here because it is easy to move if your tulip isn't lined up right. It takes a little bit to dry, and when it dries really, really good. So you're just going to take your tulip, one of your other pieces, and you're going to make sure it lines up. So I'm going to take the two sides that line up, and you're just going to stick them together here. Just give it a minute to set. Now we're going to work on this piece here. So you're going to find the next tulip piece, and you're going to figure out which end you want which side you need to put the glue on. So you want to make sure your tulip lines up together. So as you see, I brought it in and it's the wrong side. So you want to flip it, make sure that they line up together. And then you want to put glue on. You could put glue actually on this piece if you wanted to. It would make it easier, I guess. Then you won't screw up on this piece, which part is supposed to have the glue. So then you just butt those two pieces together, just like that. Pinch them, just let it set for a minute. Then we're going to work on this piece. So again, just put your glue on it. And then bring in your last piece. Make sure you have the right side. There we go. And then just kind of pinch that together. And there's your 3D tulip. So we're just going to set that aside, let that dry up. We're going to bring in the rest of our card pieces. We're only doing stamping on this one piece here. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black, and in here there is this, you can use any of the sentiments, but I thought it would make a perfect Mother's Day card. So I'm using the Happy Mother's Day, and I'm just gonna stamp that out in, like I said, Memento ink on this piece of Very Vanilla. So let's bring in our card base here. And again, yours will have a score line. You just want to go ahead and fold it down that score line. Give it a good crease. And then there's a piece of Very Vanilla. This will go on the inside of your card. So just use your adhesive, whatever adhesive you have on hand. And then the outside of the card, you have this piece of Very Vanilla with this fancy design on it. So we're just going to glue that to the front. And then you have this other very fancy, pretty piece. You know, I lied to you guys. I said that was all the stamping we were going to do. I forgot we're going to stamp the stem of the tulip out before we put this down. I'm sorry. So with this, I'm bringing in that piece of paper again because I don't want to get it on the fancy part there. So I'm going to bring back in that old olive, and I'm going to take one of the stems out, whichever one. Going to ink that up. And then I bring this piece here, put this right on the bottom. Covers up that pretty part of your Coastal Cabana. And then I'm just going to kind of angle this up here. And now we're done stamping. No more stamping. This is going to get layered on the front. I just ran out of my Stampin' Seal, so I have my Stampin' Seal Plus. So I'm going to go ahead and put that right on the front of this. And then this tulip here, you'll see the pieces that are glued. So you want to open up the part that isn't glued, and you're going to put glue down. I'm using the liquid glue. I just prefer that. Guys, use whatever adhesive you have. So you want to put it on both sides of that. And then you want to spread it out. And then you want to glue it on the stem of your card down here. So just hold that. Give that a minute to set. And then there's your beautiful 3D tulip. Isn't that awesome? And then if you wanted to mail this, you can flatten it out, put it in an envelope, and mail it. So now we're going to take this piece here, and I use Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to pop that up on the front. Then I kind of just put that right on the front here. And in your packet, you'll find 2 little pearls, one for each card. So I'm just going to take this pearl. I should use my Take-A-Pick tool, but I don't know where it is right now. I'm just going to put that right in the center, just like that. And that is it to card number 3. Those are our cards for today's card class. I hope you guys enjoyed putting this card class together. And thank you guys so much again for supporting me.